Hello everyone, it's Anna Brees. I'm at Cheveley. I've just come off of the M4 on the way to London to meet an old friend, someone I used to work with at ITV when I was a daily news reporter. In those days, early on, it was on tape, wasn't it?
It was on tape, yeah.
Now we're on a mobile, on a
wax cylinder. Yes.
On a really cheap tripod, Amazon Basics tripod, which cost about £20. And I think this microphone, again, about 20, 30 quid. But back in the day, it was very, very different. We've got some workshops coming up in London. I hope Mike can come along and share some of his tips, because it's all about new media now, us taking control of the message, setting the news agenda as citizen journalists. If we're telling a story, whatever our mission or our vision is, whatever our brand is, whatever our story is, we're all able to do that. So I'm going to be talking to Mike about his time at ITV. It was a really exciting and varied job. Every day you didn't really know what was going to happen, and you had to get it out for the lunchtime. At one point there was 3 breakfast broadcasts, weren't there? And then there was the mid-morning, and then there was the lunchtime, there was the 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock and the late news. And you had to be on top of what was ever happening in the region and get it out. And we were our competition was the BBC, wasn't it? We used to keep an eye on them.
Well, it was at the time. It was big competition with them. Yeah.
Now it's so different. The whole media environment has changed, and so Mike, thank you ever so much for talking to me. It's lovely to see you again. The last time I saw you was 2008.
May 2008. I looked up the invoice today.
No way.
And it was some little advertising place round the corner from Birmingham Gas Street Studios. Yeah.
I always worry, when I left television and I started doing content on my mobile, I thought people like yourself would look and think that's really poor quality. And I'm trying my best to do everything in terms of filming and editing and writing the links and the headlines, pulling people in to watch. What do you think of the professionalism of the content that you see? And is there anything kind of you can share with people in terms of what you watch?
Yeah, just if you're doing something, a piece on a shop or something, just take your time and just make sure the shots are steady and they're in 16:9, not 9:16 like that, which really annoys me when But yeah, keep it landscape all the time, and just be aware of the editing. If you're interviewing somebody in one place, and you stop, and then you interview that person somewhere else, completely different. Don't, in the edit, don't jump from that person to there, because it's impossible, to move that fast. So cover it with cutaways, and you can't get enough cutaways of various things, like this pub, shots of the pub, shots of the nice old chimney, things like that. Just things that the journalist can put in to cover edits.
I used to go into the edit suite, and they always used to say you had the best rushes, which is the best footage, so you had enough to work with.
You've got to have loads. Yeah.
And from what I tend to do is get a variety of shots, wide, mid, close up, keep the camera still, and I get 3-4 seconds, wide, mid, close ups, and then I look for things that catch my eye, because I think they'll catch the audience's eye. So people laughing, conversations, anything that's kind of stands out to put it in context.
Anything that's relevant to the story.
So going back to you starting then 1974 on Elstree.
I had hair then. I was 21.
You shared some lovely photographs of that time, and I was one of the reporters. I didn't really have to do very much other than turn up and hold the boom mic, wasn't it?
That's right,
You'd take care of the shots, the framing, the lighting and the audio, and I could focus on the questions.
Exactly, yeah.
Which was fantastic. And then when I left ITV in 2008, we all had to start doing our own editing and our own camera work as well, didn't we? And we had to learn, and the quality wasn't great at that time, and people like yourself were made redundant.
Exactly, that was just it. And some people like yourself, could get their head around it. Other journalists just couldn't hack it at all, and that's because they felt a bit overworked, and they couldn't really, the shots and the camera sort of weren't quite right, and it was so difficult. There they were driving to a location in their head, going, "Oh, what am I going to do for this?" Trying to skid down the road, avoiding everything, and on the way back as well, they've got this footage, if you like, and having to ship it back to the studio and stuff. In their heads, they're editing it, and that's no way to carry on, really. It's so much pressure.
They obviously had to save money, but
I'm surprised there weren't more accidents, to be quite honest. No.
I mean, so when I joined ITV Oxford, so it was ITV Central South in Abingdon.
Yeah.
I think it was 2003, and then they closed down Abingdon, didn't they? And I remember it was such a shame, because I'm from Newent in Gloucestershire, and they really loved ITV Central South. They loved Wesley, they loved the team. It felt like family.
That's great.
There was a community behind what was
yeah.
happening locally. Good local stories. You know, it was, and then. So they shut down ITV Central South, and I went to ITV Birmingham, and then they merged the regions, ITV Central West, ITV Central East, and it stopped kind of being local news, because you could be living in Ross-on-Wye in Herefordshire and be getting news from Leicestershire, and that didn't feel local news anymore. And why did ITV do that? Obviously to save money.
Yeah, save money, basically. I mean, when Central closed down, the BBC were still doing that local reporting, which was good. Now they're not there. So there's nothing at all apart from Whitney TV, which is managed by a good friend of mine, Barry Clack.
And this is a clip from ITV Central about the closing of ITV Central South in 2006, where Mike and I both worked.
Central News South first came onto our screens on ITV in this region in January 1989. The news centre in Windrush Way was purpose-built, and the first news programme was presented by Wesley Smith, as it is today.
Good morning from Central News, and we begin with news that police are trying to negotiate with a man on a rooftop in Gloucester.
ITV intend to restructure their local news service to cover from Banbury in the north to Winchester in the south, and Swindon in the west to Bracknell. The programme itself will be produced and presented from Southampton. Staff at the Abingdon site were shocked by today's news.
Well, nobody wanted to speak to us on camera today, but one employee told me that staff here feel upset, shocked and disappointed by today's announcement. Now, ITV claim that this is all about improving their output, while staff here say they can't see how that'll be achieved by tearing apart a successful regional programme. They're also concerned about the split site move to Southampton and, of course, their own jobs.
Because at mid-90s, everybody loved us at Abingdon, and it was terrific to work there, it really was.
But there was no competition. I mean, we think about there being only 4 channels, and
well,
only one of them was commercial, so it was a licence to print money. And I remember the Coronation Street advert break. ITV were making so much money, and you were living off expenses. You'd get a wad of cash. I remember, never forget your time like that.
Wad of cash, yeah. And also, of course, we were trying to outdo the BBC. We're just round the corner. It's great.
Having worked at ITV and BBC, I liked ITV more. I don't know. I just felt it was a little bit more free and more fun, and
more of a sense of humour. I know. Why would everybody be so serious? It's just, if you have a good laugh, you do a good job, don't you?
It was being paid to have fun, that job, though. It was so wonderful. But then, obviously, so when they merged ITV West, Central West with ITV East, I went to the BBC South Today as a presenter. But then that job for me ended. But it always felt that there wasn't enough money and investment in local news. But where is it now? You know, I don't know. It connected us to our communities, It was good as well, Very Best Journalism, which was my passion.
Everybody watched it. It was terrific. We could not do any wrong. Mid-90s, everybody watched us.
The world has changed, media's changed. And today I saw Elon Musk doing a live broadcast and championing citizen journalism, saying this has a chance to kind of change society. If people learn professional skills to film themselves live, for example, with their mobiles. But it tends to be, there's quite a lot of junk out there, isn't there? I don't know.
Oh, God, yeah. Awful. A lot of rubbish out there, for want of a better word, yeah.
People are going off to find their own communities. You're only on Twitter, is that right?
Yeah, I'm only on Twitter. Just reading. I don't post anything at all. Not really.
The job of the local journalist has kind of been taken over, hasn't it? You've got local Facebook groups, and volunteer admins are almost like the editor of the local newspaper now. And But do you think the change in news has been positive or negative?
Negative, I think. Certainly from a technical point of view, the broadcast, some of the you know, some of the pieces you see, and you think, God, it's overexposed, it's all bleached out, and the sound's rubbish. In the old days, he would have apologise about the sound and the crap picture, you know. But now anything
jump cuts and stuff. No one understands the principles of goods.
No, jump cuts, not quite so much. No, but just the general quality, and nobody seems to apologise anymore and say, "Oh, we're sorry about the quality of that." If it's completely mute, then they might do. But if it's like this Storm Agnes, or whatever it was called, in west coast of Ireland, I mean, you could hardly hear the reporter. Like that.
What was that? What was that published on then? Was that filmed on a mobile?
No. It was a proper crew, but it was just, you know, the sound was just pretty terrible, really. And yeah, I'm sure he was, you know, doing a great job, and you know, things at time, you know, is limited and stuff like that. But it was just a 416 microphone with what you used to call a woolly woofter on the outside of it. Well, doing a situation like that, you really need a big windshield. A big one over the top of that as well, to get rid of the wind noise, because it was just pretty horrendous.
Well, I teach people, and I have to recommend kind of budget kit, and there's like a Boyer lapel microphone, and it's like, I don't know, it's about 25 quid. It's not great for the wind and stuff, but it's better than no microphone at all in the wind.
Well, I mean the gear now, you know, today is reasonably cheap, but it's so good. Not only just, you know, iPhone, your DSLR cameras. I mean, the picture quality is just stunning, absolutely stunning. And the microphone, I mean, what's wrong with that? It's perfectly okay. In the old days, 416 were about 1,000 quid.
It's incredible, isn't it? And this cost me like 20 quid, and I've had it for 5 years.
And they're really good. And the lapel mics as well, you know, they're really, really good now.
They are really good. People do need a little bit of help. So, yeah, we've got workshops coming up. It's in a hotel, 5-minute walk from Paddington. I hope you'll be able to come along and share some of your knowledge, because I picked up, and a lot of what I do is copying styles. So the new style, and you said you had to do this as well when you started.
Yeah, well, something that taught me, because I was on sound in the early days with the Muppet shows and stuff like that. And when I went to Birmingham in '82, when the BBC bought Elstree, I was still on sound, but I was doing stuff like Film Unit, and I was the first to do ENG on sound, and studios, doing, you know, Crossroads sort of 3 times a week, you know, things like that. But then when Central South kind of opened up, I was offered a job down there, and I was doing 6 months editing, 6 months camera work. And the editing taught me a hell of a lot.
By doing editing, you understand what shots you need to do. So it is good in a way to be able to do both, which is what I had to do as a TV news reporter. What I also wanted to talk to you about is how versatile the job was. So for me as a reporter, I'd have to go to a live breaking story. It could be like a plane crash, or and you'd be live within 5 minutes. Yeah. That was a skill. And I remember one of my last week at ITV in Birmingham, I think had to do a live broadcast, and I thought, how am I going to work out what's going here at such speed to be able to communicate that with the audience? That was a real challenge.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, very much so. And you know, that pressure is exaggerated by the fact that you're looking at a watch going, oh, blimey, 15 minutes and the SAT truck's not here yet, you know. And then Steve Ryder, bless him, would turn up, you know, and try and find a satellite, and it would be rush.
When it got out, there was such a feeling, and it was a feeling of you know, friendship, fun, family.
Oh, absolutely.
Where we all worked together to get that content out to the public.
It was healthy competition, really was. I remember one thing, when I was in Birmingham, I was on sound and I was working with Pete Hill. Do you remember Pete Hill? He was in the Rhodesian Army, quite a tough chap. And we were told to go to some athletic meeting at the Alexander Stadium, and we were doing a job somewhere, I don't know, somewhere south of Birmingham, and we got stuck on the M5 in a crash, and it was sitting there. I remember Pete on his pipe going like that. The phone rings and it's Bungie on the other end. He's going, where are you? It's like, we're stuck on the M5, Bunge. Oh, right, okay, all right. see if you can make it if you can. Yeah, whatever. Fine. And Pete's going, Pete's driving. And then 5 minutes later, the phone, where are you now? And Pete said, about a centimetre from where you phoned last. And then we got there, we had to get footage from somebody else because she'd gone. It was Princess Anne was opening this games. I don't know what it was now. But nobody was there, so we had to just copy the stuff off. Oh dear.
It was... I never knew what the day was going to bring.
We all did it with a sense of humour. This is what's so important.
But it feels so anachronistic and out of touch now. When I think about sitting on the sofa, reading an autocue, in your jacket and to present a link into package, go into the half-hour show. It had to exist back then because we only had 4 channels, whereas news you consume all day long now. And all the newspapers are doing their own YouTube channels, and newspaper reporters are becoming presenters.
Did you have a foot switch for the speed of the autocue as well?
Yes, it was like a sewing machine. I used to think I was operating a sewing machine.
And they used to stick, didn't
sewing
they?
Machine pedal. Yeah.
So it was going full tilt.
And when you lose your autocue, panic stations.
Yeah.
But just, something we were talking about before was when you were, there's some really big stories that you've covered in the past, such as Fred West and how you'd have to be outside a court and you would have to wait there for hours and you may only get 2 seconds of Fred West being taken from the van into the courtroom, and then it would be shared all around the world.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, if you could get a shot, sometimes you might just be able to get a shot down the side of the wagon, but it was just so difficult. And because it was such a big story, snappers would be there, press, local and national, and sometimes you could only be guided by them. Mike, come over here. Run over there, and me as well. Hey guys, over here, look, down there. So we all work together.
Now, how would you feel? Because you might have a couple of citizen journalists there or content creators with a mobile, wouldn't you, in competition with you?
Well, yeah. I mean, not in those days, really, but it was. But yeah, I mean, it was. Sometimes I remember the editor at Central South. Mike, where are you at the court? And I said, I'm out the front, Jeff. This is Jeff Barrett, bless him. So, why can't you go around the back? I said, well, if I go around the back, he's going to come out the front, isn't he? I said, I can't hologram myself round the back of the court, I'm afraid. Some things I can't do. Oh, right, mate, yeah. And of course, sometimes you used to get a second cameraman around the back of the court, but even that sometimes didn't work anyway, so. But yeah, the Fred West stuff, it's horrendous.
Well, listen, thank you so much for talking to me and sharing your stories. And it's just lovely to see you again. My friends.
Ranted on. But
you didn't rant on at all. I just think this is interesting. And I think the whole issue, a lot of people who worked in the media contact me. I'm trying to sort this out now. I just think sometimes, doing this, it's inevitable. I know there's been massive changes. I really miss my time working at ITV and also at the BBC, being in the team. The world has changed now. Obviously, people are using their mobiles. They've all got platforms to film, edit and publish in the same way as I used to as a TV reporter. And I kind of, you have so many skills though, of enabling us to understand how to construct good shots, get good audio, good lighting, how to put that all together and to publish to our own platforms. And my passion and my vision is getting people like you from my time in TV journalism to share their skills at face-to-face workshops in London, so I hope you get to come along. We've got 2 dates coming up, 26th of October, very few early bird tickets left, also 23rd of November in a location in a hotel 5-minute walk from Paddington, and bringing in people like yourself, Mike. I'm talking to an investigative journalism, mainstream media journalist next week as well, but people like yourself with the funny stories, the interesting stories that you have to tell about how the media's changed, but we have to change with the times, don't we? And this is what people are doing.
Yeah, but the basic rules of camera work are still there from donkey's years ago. Wooden tripods and film cameras hasn't changed. People try and change it, but it just looks odd. Some of the things that
there's 2 styles that I see. There's the short form, which is in vertical, when your mobile's in vertical, which is kind of like your TikToks and your Reels. And then there's your long form 3-camera podcasts that go on forever. But there's not a lot of people creating content that looks like TV. And it's all about a story, isn't it? And thinking about how do you get someone to watch? So really writing a great headline. Do you remember the producers, Chris Moore, wasn't it?
Chris Moore. Yeah.
Chris Moore used to write really good headlines, presenter links.
He was
really good at that.
He was really good at that, yeah.
So that's the same thing as what you write before you publish a video, and then keeping people in with the story. And I think there's so much from our background, you know, having worked in television, in journalism, in news, that we can share with people who are doing it themselves now.
Absolutely.
Do you think so?
Definitely, yeah. As I say, the basic laws of filming haven't changed. It's just people think they've got other ideas, and it doesn't quite work.
People might disagree with you on that, but that's an interesting conversation. Maybe we need to move with the times, though. But I just see a lot of junk, and I worry about the kids. I also think that we can set the news agenda. We tend to talk about what people call mainstream media or old media set the news agenda, what the top story is. And you were talking to me about Lawrence Fox because that's in the news at the minute. But really, are we that interested? Are we that interested in certain things? And we tend to, it's about creating content where we set our own agenda as well and talk about the things we're passionate about.
Yeah, and certainly a lot of guys and gals on YouTube, some of their content is just fantastic. Really, really good. As being a bit of a car nut, as you probably gathered, there's a couple with Mr. JWW, Shmee 150, people like, particularly Mr. JWW, James, I can't remember his surname now, but absolutely brilliant footage. And he's got a second channel called JWW Uncut, which is just as you go along. His edited stuff is fantastic. It's very, very good indeed. And that's just phone. And
do you think it's all being filmed on a phone? They usually, if you're a really big YouTuber, you have a team now and you have people to do it all for you. I guess I'm connected with people who are doing it all themselves, but you can still...
The uncut stuff is just a phone.
Well, there you go.
And
there is still so much you can do by yourself. I did everything on my own. The very first Facebook Live I did, I think it was in 2018, got nearly 1 million views. Now, when I left BBC South Today doing the late shift, I was getting 800,000 views or so. So I just thought, this is amazing, isn't it? And like you said, you can go live, which we did today on Facebook. I'm going to put this on YouTube. Hopefully lots of people are going to watch.
It's funny how viewings change, because I find myself watching YouTube because you can find anything on it. I love watching YouTube instead of terrestrial TV.
Do you?
Yeah, I do.
It's
and also sort of DIY stuff. You can just find out so much.
Yeah, I do like YouTube. You're 70. Really... what I would say is my parents' generation don't watch YouTube at all. And funny story. No. So I was, I'm from Newent in Gloucestershire in the Forest of Dean, and I used to go back there, and I opened the Onion Fair in Newent back when I was a TV presenter because I was famous. And everyone used to get really excited. My mum worked in the charity shop, and all the old ladies used to say, "No, I didn't." No. All the old ladies used to say, "Oh, how's Anna? Because I was on TV, I was a presenter, yeah. And then as soon as I wasn't on TV, they never asked about me anymore. They weren't interested. But I go back sometimes, and the old ladies say to me, "Oh, how are you? Are you still on the telly?" And I go, "No, I'm not on the telly, but I'm on the YouTube."
Yeah, it's absolutely superb.
Everyone has a chance to make a difference. Everyone has a chance and a voice, and that's exciting to be a part of that. It's a bit chaotic, I get that, but we can, pass on our skills in terms of, accuracy in fake news is a problem, isn't it?
And again, I was just thinking, with the advent of drones, they are so... a friend of mine's got a DJI drone, about 4,000 quid. It is phenomenal. Maximum zoom on those windows. It doesn't move. And this is on a breezy day. It's absolutely incredible. It's no wonder people use them.
People are... I was at a school and 80% of the children were editing with something called CapCut. Yeah. And my daughter she's 9, she filmed and edited a fantastic little piece all about how to roller skate. She did it all herself, she worked it out. You know, so we are creating content ourselves as much as
GoPros
publishing.
on the board, that sort of stuff.
She just used it. She edited it within TikTok, I think. She just worked out how to do it.
Yeah. Well, it's again, you know, GoPros, you know, small cameras. You know, in my day, back in, you know, sort of mid 90s, things like that just didn't exist. I remember doing my way of doing a in-car camera, looking out the windscreen, was to get a camera, big heavy bugger, mind you, in between the headrest and the headlining on the passenger seat, and just wind the backrest up so it was locked. That was quite good, but no, really.
But it's just incredible to see how things have changed.
Yeah.
And even I was working at ITV in the Gloucester office when it was on tape. And yeah, I used to be. So I'd leave the camera crew from a location. You used to give me a little tape, didn't you?
Yeah.
I'd have to rush back to the office, hand it in, they'd upload it, and then I'd edit it. Yeah. And it's just changed so quickly, and it's going to change even more in the future.
I mean, dispatch riders, remember them?
Oh yeah.
Used to pick up a tape and then you do a wheelie, you know, gone.
So it was, if it was a late breaking news story, and we had to get that content on air.
Yeah.
The whole, from the point of filming to publication was a challenge, and it was expensive back then, and now it's become available to everyone. So listen, it's lovely to talk to you. Thank you so much for talking to me and to the audience, and hopefully if you want to come along to the workshops in London, if enough of you book and it really takes off, we'll be bringing in people like yourself to share your skills.
I might learn something.
Thanks so much.
You're always learning, aren't you? No matter what.
It's important that you do always learn and change, isn't it? You know, change with the times.
Exactly.
Thanks very much, Mike.
Okay, cheers.